bit about what led you into this career?
Sure. I spent the 7 years after college, I spent working on Wall Street. I was a derivatives trader at a quantitative proprietary trading firm. I'd gone to school for computer science. I wound up there pretty randomly. It was kind of like I was looking for a job to stay in New York for a year before starting grad school, while I did the applications. So anyway, I found myself as a trader. After about 7 years, I thought, I'm a little bit done with this. I want to try something else. I had a bunch of friends who had stayed in tech and were doing startups, and I felt like, what an interesting lifestyle they had. They were kind of making something new. They were building something from the ground up. It seemed really exciting, really interesting, and it also reconnected me with kind of my tech background, which, so I was kind of naturally drawn to it. And then I thought, I've been out of tech too long to be useful as an engineer, so I said, what can I do? And I said, well, I do understand finance, so maybe there's a way to bring those two together. I don't think I realized that seed stage was much less about like financial modeling than later stage VC. So I didn't really have a full sense at the time of what venture capital entailed, but I thought, it seems like a really interesting way to kind of bring together these kind of two varying things that both really interested me.
Yeah, fabulous. And I think I was telling you, I did help Bryce spread his blog post when he was looking for women to apply for the position. So I was absolutely thrilled to hear that a woman actually got it herself.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I guess my question is, how long have you been in the seat now?
Just a little over a year.
Okay.
A year and a couple months. I started in June of 2011.
And I guess a year is enough to get like at least a brief synopsis of the challenges and the benefits. Could you give me a rundown of what you experienced?
So my last career involved a lot of numbers, a lot of data, a lot of very little in the way of meeting people, very little in the way of like the kind of soft skills. So switching to venture, that was a huge adjustment actually. I think one of my very first meetings, the feedback I got was like, she's really direct, she's not that nice, and so I thought, oh God. It's like that Wall Street personality, that very direct, and this is how it's done, and so I said, okay, let me reassess and develop some personal skills. So that was an interesting challenge. I think my role was split between meeting companies, being sort of forward-facing, taking first meetings, helping, and then helping evaluate those companies. So sort of all three stages of the lifestyle of an investment, from the sourcing process through the evaluation and diligence process, which often is my favorite part, because you really get into what are the mechanics and drivers of a market, what are the things that are shaping that industry and how it develops, what are the pitfalls, what are the ways that businesses can grow in a particular sector. And then the third aspect is working with the existing portfolio companies. So from sourcing to maybe funding to funded. And then with the existing portfolio companies, it's anything from we need analysis done on a rollout strategy for XYZ, or product feedback on something, or we need a new financial model for what our business is going to look like a couple of years out. And, so that's what I do. It's been really fantastic. Every day is something new, which is what I was hoping for. So.
A little bit different than Wall Street then.
Yeah, Wall Street is. I had really intensely focused 12-hour days, probably 7 to 7. But then I would go home and and I wouldn't really think about trading necessarily as such. In 2008 we did, but not so much the rest of the time. But in venture, I find it's almost like a lifestyle. Like you are constantly talking to people, you're constantly out there meeting people, hearing ideas, going to demo days. So even when I'm, everything you read kind of impacts the way you think about a particular market. So even just the kind of reading you do late at night, reading an article on the internet kind of shapes your perception of how you might think about a potential investment.
And so what would you say has been your greatest challenge? Was it the people skills, although you seem to have picked those up quite quickly?
It's actually, no, it's been, I came from a world where everything had a value, meaning everything was publicly listed, and even if it was a liquid, there was kind of a mathematical equation that I could use to figure out what something was worth. Okay. And there was a sense of fair value as the kind of the underpinning for every trade we made, the way that we thought about any market, any stock we were looking at, any derivative we were looking at. Here, the challenge has been in the seed stage, which is where we invest, looking at something that's a little bit beyond an idea, but is not yet, or it's an early stage company. There is something there. There's something that exists, but it's so kind of nascent. It hasn't really become what it's going to become. So you're kind of predicting the future, trying to see, do people want this thing that that your company is building? And so every idea you're evaluating, it's from the standpoint of, is this even feasible? Who wants this? What's it going to grow into? So sometimes I feel like the real challenge for me has been being in a world where there's really no concrete answer to a lot of the questions that go into, should we fund this entrepreneur? Is this a good market? How should we think about this deal?
So what you're saying is there's quite a lot of risk and there's not a lot of form to be able to rely on, as in your old industry.
Right.
What would you say then has been the thing that you've relied on within yourself, either talent, skill, or to do this?
I think part of the thing that's so great about the people side of this business is that you build a network and you learn to rely on that network. Meaning, I try to always have an idea of what I don't know, and kind of fill in the gaps. I don't know very much about this market, but my friend does. I don't know very much about this, but someone else does. So it's kind of pulling in outside help, and so I think a lot of it is understanding what I know, where I can, concretely say, this is what I believe, and these are the steps that I've taken to get there, and then also knowing when to say, okay, it's time to really pull in someone from the network. And, I think the thing I maybe bring to the table is healthy skepticism. And at the same time, so that's been both, I think it's served me well, but it's also been something I've had to work to overcome. Kind of gaining a sense of the optimism of the valley and balancing that with the desire to back up that optimism with something pragmatic, some sort of data. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's a fantastic little look into your world. Thank you so much for sharing that detail. And what domain is basically OATV focused on, or what are you focused on personally as far as industries or domains?
We look at everything. We're very kind of broad firm. One of the things that I really love about being here specifically is the emphasis on working on things that matter. I think that's one of the core focuses of the businesses that Tim has built, and so that definitely feeds into our investment thesis here. Is this a problem that matters? Is this something potentially big? Is there a way that we can add value? Is this something that we want to exist in the world?
Making a difference.
Yeah. So
pretty exciting, isn't it?
And I think, to be slightly more specific, I like healthcare a lot lately. It's an area where huge fundamental shifts in the market, in part because of legislation that's coming through, in part because of the fundamental need for cost control, and seeing the innovative ways that entrepreneurs are approaching those problems and saying, this is how we can make a difference.
In this country, it'd be like the number one.
Right. Yes.
Having lived and worked in of your countries, I'm like shocked and horrified.
So I've really enjoyed looking at the health investments that we've made. Hardware is another one where we see such fabulous devices that come through, in part because O'Reilly has a connection with Make, and it's such a core part of the culture underlying the firm.
And how have you found being in the venture community here? Obviously, you've been sort of displaced because you've had to move from New York to here, right? And,
yes. But it's actually it's one of my favorite aspects of the job. Really is I moved here, so total new city, total new field, new job. The whole bit. I knew like maybe 3 people when I got off the plane, and I got an email saying like, hey, we're a couple of other venture associates, also recently displaced from New York. Come hang out, and kind of this core group grew into pretty regular brunches, drinks. Venture associates talk to each other very frequently, which was something I actually hadn't expected. I thought that it would be more competition for deals, was my perception of it before I was actually in the industry. Okay. And it's really huge exchange of ideas, bouncing things off people. Hey, did you look at this company? I looked at them too. What did you think of them? Really a whole lot of information exchange and sharing.
So pretty collaborative then.
Very collaborative.
And what would you say? Would you say you've made the right choice at this point?
Yeah. Definitely. No, definitely. I really I feel like I've gotten a fantastic education over the last year and a couple months. I've met amazing people on both sides of the table. Some really fantastic connections. I have amazing mentors in the form of the partners at OATV also, which is something that I think is critical for personal development and for career success.
Yes, I've got a lot of respect for Bryce, and I've been following his blog for many years, even before I met him, but definitely a lot of respect. So what's your advice to any women thinking about going into this industry?
I highly recommend it. I think different perspectives really, shape the conversation about what types of businesses should be funded, and kind of drawing attention to kind of underserved areas, both in terms of founders or in terms of business models or customer bases. I think having a technical background does help. I always encourage women to, younger women to take as many math, CS, engineering classes as they can. It's really the future of the economy, and it's served me well in so many ways, both from how to think in general to being able to understand an industry that's really going to shape the direction that this country heads. So it's and apply really is another. I definitely thought when I saw Bryce's first post, and I did see it, I thought, oh, they're going to be looking for somebody with an MBA or someone with a network, or I have such a non-traditional background, and there's this kind of stereotype that VCs don't want to hire people who have banking or finance backgrounds, which may be true at some funds.
Well, they actually do in the UK, in London.
It's pretty common, right?
Yeah, but definitely it's different here. Yeah.
But I think, I thought, I'm not going to apply because I'm not really qualified enough, and that, which I think is a very common mistake that women make.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
And then I saw the second blog post, and I said, I'm doing that thing again, and I may as well apply. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? So so really like putting yourself out there and taking a leap and saying, I'm totally qualified, so I'm gonna do this.
And multi-million-dollar question: how many women entrepreneurs do you find coming to you to pitch?
The percentage is not that high.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give a fake number without having data to back it up. I'd say maybe 20%. 25% maybe.
Okay.
They tend to be focused in particular industries.
Okay.
A lot of the interesting stuff that fashion, a lot of the interesting things that are a lot of marketing related, because I think most people who start companies do base it, they root it in things that they know. And so this being Silicon Valley, I think a lot of the hard tech stuff is being done by people with engineering backgrounds out of Stanford, and the reality is
It's a small funnel.
it's a small,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That's what we've got to do, is increase that funnel, like you said.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your encouragement and inspiration, and you're a wonderful role model for many women, hopefully, to come in the future in this industry. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.